I believe that travel is synonymous with efficiency and minimalism. And whether you're going away for a weekend away or traveling for multiple months, how you pack can make a huge difference to the enjoyment you have on that trip. Hello, my name is Paul Miners and welcome back to another one of our productivity training videos. Today, I'm going to talk about how to pack for a weekend away from a productivity point of view. Now, this video was actually inspired after I took a trip about a month ago. My brother and I were flying down to Wellington. We were actually going down for an engagement party for Warwick on our team. Congratulations to Warwick and Ashley. And we got back from the trip and I was talking to John, our editor, and we came up with this idea, why don't we talk about how to pack from a productivity point of view? And in this video, I'm not going to talk so much about what to pack. That's not the important thing here because what you take varies so much depending on where you're going and what you're doing. Instead, I'm going to focus on the principles and the mindset around how I like to pack, how I prepare for a trip. And as you'll see, I think some of these concepts you could even apply to a longer trip. Maybe you're going away for a few weeks or even a few months. Now, when you start packing, before you open your wardrobe and start pulling things out and throwing them into a bag, take a second to actually think about why are you going and what are you going to be doing on the trip. So in this case, for this weekend away, I needed to have some casual clothes to wear just casually throughout the day. I needed something that I could also wear for the engagement party. Sometimes if you're going for a weekend away, you might need exercise clothes if you're going to go on a hike or you want to go to a gym. If you're going on a work trip, maybe you need to take camera equipment or a laptop. And taking just a few minutes to think through what you're going to do on the trip helps you make your first big decision, which is what bag are you going to pack everything into? Now, the reason I like to start by deciding what bag I'm going to use is because in productivity, there is this principle called Parkinson's law. If you're a productivity nerd like me, you've maybe heard of this before. I first came across it when I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. And Parkinson's law basically says that the amount of time it takes to complete a task expands to fill the amount of time you allocate to do the task. So in other words, if you have something you need to do and you give yourself a day to do it, you will take a day to complete that task. If instead you allocate just an hour or two to do that same task, you will prioritize enough so that you complete that same task in an hour. And I like to apply that same mode of thinking to packing. And so that's why I like to start by thinking about what bag I'm going to use, because if I'm going on a weekend away in the summer, I don't need as many bulky jackets and things. I can pack into a backpack and I can get everything I need for a weekend away into a much smaller bag. For this particular trip, being in autumn, and I was taking an extra jacket because I thought it was going to rain and some shoes, I actually decided to go with the duffel bag. Either way, choosing which bag I'm going to pack everything into helps me then work out ultimately how much stuff I'm going to take. For a weekend away, I'm usually going to use either the Bellroy Transit Work Pack and I also have the Bellroy duffel bag. I love Bellroy, great Australian-based company, and I just really appreciate their attention to detail, the design and the quality of the bags that they make. The Transit Work Pack is a great kind of multi-use backpack. It's got enough internal storage where I can fit shoes, jackets, t-shirts, and enough for a weekend away. And it's also got a separate storage compartment at the back where I can put in my laptop, my charger and cables and things. I'm actually using this right now as my go bag. My wife and I are expecting our third child in the next 4 weeks. And so I have this packed ready to go with things that I might need at the airport. So if we need to, I can grab this and we can go. And then with the duffel bag, obviously there's a bit more space in here. Again, lots of internal storage. And I like that there's these extra side pockets where I can put my laptop, chargers, cables, other bits and pieces that I'm going to take with me. The next big decision you may have to make, especially if you're getting on a flight, is are you going to be checking in any luggage? Now, for this particular trip, I was traveling with my brother, and I actually called him up when I was packing and asked him, are you going to be checking in a suitcase? And like me, he prefers to travel light and as minimally as possible. We are twins after all. And so that was great because I could confidently go with the duffel knowing that, Mark, who I was going to be traveling with, was also not checking in luggage. And that just made our whole experience of getting to the airport, getting through security, even arriving at the other end, we didn't have to pick up any bags. It made the whole experience so much easier. I think it's good to be aware of what other people that you're traveling with are doing from a packing standpoint, because that actually may influence how much you decide to take. In this case, because neither of us had any check-in luggage, I could just go with the duffel and I can very comfortably walk through the airport. I can wear this for a while, and even getting on the plane, I just bring it in front of me, I can walk down the aisle and I'm not hitting other people along the way. Now, when it comes to deciding what to pack, I like to find and pack multi-purpose items, especially when it comes to clothing. With this recent trip we went away, I took with me this Swan Dry flannel shirt. This is great because you can dress it up or down. I can wear it open with a t-shirt underneath, and it's actually an extra layer, but I can also button it up and dress it up, and I can wear it casually or out more in a formal setting. Another good example of a multi-purpose item is your footwear, especially because shoes can take up so much space. On this trip, I wore my boots on the plane, and I could wear those and get them wet if I needed to. I also decided to take a pair of Allbirds. These are good because I can wear these if I'm going out for a walk, I could wear them to the gym, but I could even wear them with some jeans if I needed to, if I was going to a cafe or restaurant. It's also important to think about what are you actually going to wear during that traveling period, so that you're deciding what goes in the bag and what can you wear strategically to save space. In this case, I decided I was going to wear these on the plane, and I wore my kind of warmer jacket as an extra layer because you never know how hot or cold it's going to be, especially on a flight. My coat, which, let's face it, I don't need this on the plane, that actually went into my bag, and again, that was one of the reasons I decided to go with the duffel for this particular trip. To pack everything into my actual bag, I really like using packing cells or packing cubes. So on this particular trip, or if I'm doing a weekend away, I'll usually have one bigger packing cell, which I use for all my clothing. So t-shirts, shirts, gym gear, all goes in the bigger one. And then I have a smaller packing cube for underwear and socks. And I can just pack the clothes in there, throw it all into the bag, and everything is nicely organized. Actually, I used these earlier in the year. We went away on a camping trip, and for that trip, I actually decided I'm not even going to take a bag. All of my clothing went into these packing cubes, and I threw these in the roof box, or we put them in the back of the car, because you don't really need a bag if you're just packing the car and then putting them into a tent. So these are great for all sorts of different types of travel. For my toiletries, I've gone with another Bellroy option. This is Bellroy's, I think this is their smaller toiletries bag. They do have a large version as well. Just a great little wash kit, really, and I particularly like that it's got this extra little flap to keep your toothbrush separate from your other little bits. This is a great example, again, of Bellroy's attention to detail and just really thinking through what goes into a good product. For charging cables and power adapters, I actually have separate cables and a power adapter that I keep exclusively for travel. This makes packing just that much quicker and easier because I don't want to have to worry about unplugging cables from my nightstand or from my office. So I just have an extra power adapter. This is a pretty cheap A-Logic power adapter with USB-C and USB-A options. I can pack that, or it's actually already packed. I can charge everything I need off here. And even Haley, my wife, who doesn't want to have to worry about cables, we can charge her stuff off here as well. I have another Bellroy product, the Bellroy pencil case. This video is not sponsored by Bellroy, by the way. I just like their products. But in here, I've got two cables. I have an Apple Watch cable, and I have a USB-C cable. Thank you, Apple. Finally, now Apple is all USB-C at last. I can charge my phone, my iPad, AirPods, everything off this one cable. I only take one. Usually I'm charging just one thing at once. And so they just live in there, and that packs nicely into the pencil case. A couple of weeks ago, we made a video about my productivity habits and routines, which we will link up here. And I talked about some of the supplements that I take on a daily basis. And so when I'm traveling, I don't want to skip a day. So I usually just pre-pack in some little Ziploc bags, things that I take, vitamin C, lion's mane. I just portion out how much I'm going to need. And I've also got some electrolytes. Maybe you get sick when you're away. It's really good to have. Or in this case, going to an engagement party, having a few drinks, quite handy to have some electrolytes as well. Inevitably, when you travel, often you find, I forgot something. And it's a horrible feeling, so it's always good to try and learn from every trip you take, like what is that one thing I forgot last time? On this particular trip, actually, it was, I should have taken a UE Boom speaker. We were staying at an Airbnb and we were hanging out that first night, and we had no way of playing music because there was nothing at the Airbnb. So lesson for next time, take a speaker just in case. Now on this particular trip last month, I didn't take this, but sometimes if there's a chance I'm gonna need to do a little bit of extra work, I might take my iPad. I'd rather not take a MacBook and have that to deal with. The iPad's just that bit smaller. And if I'm just checking email and doing a kind of light amount of work, this is great. Now on a daily basis, I don't usually carry a wallet. In New Zealand, most places now accept Apple Pay, so I've got my cards, I can pay for everything using my phone. When I travel, I have just the magnetic Apple wallet that can stick to the back of my phone. That's great because I can take my cards just in case somewhere doesn't accept PayWave, and I can also take my driver's license as well. And finally, one of the really nice things about the Bellroy duffel is it comes with an extra bag, a bag within a bag. And this is great for packing your shoes, just to keep them separate if they are muddy. Or what I do on the trip is when I get there, I actually use this as my laundry bag. So as I wear clothes and underwear, rather than packing them back into my packing cells, I keep the cells for anything that I haven't needed. Hopefully I've worn everything, but this actually becomes my laundry bag. When I get home, I can just empty this into the washing machine, and that makes unpacking really quick on the other end. The reason I like to travel as light as possible is that I really do believe that travel is synonymous with minimalism. How you pack and how much you take could actually make a huge difference to the enjoyment you have on the trip. If I'm not having to carry around a big heavy suitcase, which I have to check in at the airport, if I've just got a duffel bag or a backpack, I can move through the world, especially if I'm in an unfamiliar environment, with confidence and ease. It makes getting on a bus easier or a train. It may even make the difference between whether you decide to stay in one spot or maybe move to a different city. So I hope you're able to take away even just one or two little tips from this video that you can apply to your next trip. If you have any of your own tips or travel hacks, leave me a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. When I get home, I literally just empty this into the dishwasher or out more in a formal setting, semi-formal.